Okay. Sorry, Patrice. We're turning the recording
I'm
on.
being recorded.
Yeah, okay. So I just remember being so impressed by, as a leader, the things you shared with Kristen and I when you were here in San Francisco, about how seriously you take empowering other women and the examples that you shared with us. Can you just share some examples? I can tell you some that stuck in my brain, but I would love to just hear you tell us how you help. I mean, I think one of the points you just made is that things are much better for women, but I think you would agree the job isn't done, right? It's still an inside job, and
Far
we
from
all have,
it.
yeah.
Yeah, very far from it. There's a lot of work.
A lot of work that still has to be done. So
Mhm.
how are you integrating that into your daily life? I want to say one more thing. I remember like 2 years ago, I had a call with you and I said, but Tracy, are you helping women? This was, are you helping in your job, are you influencing women? And you said, every single day. You said, that's what I do. So I just want to hear how you do that.
Right. Like I said, it's just being intentional about it. Again, it's easy to kind of accept the status quo and then just move with the flow. But the status quo means, for example, when we send a team to do some survey, the first instinct is to have 5 members who are all male members. And as when we talked 2 years ago, I was still a permanent secretary, which meant I was the one who would approve who goes where for such work. And I used to always insist that we needed to have women, an equal number of women. And sometimes people wouldn't accept it. They would be like, but she's a mother. If you take her out of Kigali, she won't be able to go because she'll say she has young kids and this and that. I told them, no, let them go. Let them be the ones saying no to this. And every time that I insisted, these women ended up being very excellent at the tasks they were doing. But it took a lot of convincing people that we needed representation. There's no way I'm going to approve a whole list of 10 people who are all male, even though there was an argument that we didn't have enough women, because it's a field that's male dominated. So they'll be like, we only have 2 women. So if you needed 5 out of, like, if it's 10 and I tell them you have to find me 5 women to go with the 5 men, they'll be like, we can't find them. Go and find them. Just I won't approve it until you find them. And they would find them outside of that department to go and do that kind of work. And it went well. So I think it's more about being intentional and saying women can do it. Yes, there are some limitations. Instead of saying that women won't be able to do it because of the limitations, how about we remove the limitations? So I used to work, even today, I insist on working on things that make it easy for women to do what they're supposed to do, to be there. For example, we've worked on having nurseries at work. It's a program that's booming across Rwanda. So we have what they call early childhood development centers now in offices, so that women who have young kids can bring them to work, be at peace that they have their kids at work, and do what they're supposed to do with their male counterparts. So for me, it's more insisting and really pushing for it, because sometimes it takes that pushing. And when they know you are the one making that decision, they have no other way other than finding that solution, So that's what I've been.
One of the things you said to us was, I remember this, I quoted you. You said you would get to like a new committee meeting and there would be like all men. And you'd say, well, where are the women? And they would say, well, they can't come to the meetings because they have childcare. And you said, well, then we're going to change the time of the meetings.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Yeah, you just make it work.
There's been many, even to this date. I mean, I go into a meeting, the first thing I'll do, I'll make that kind of remark. If it's only me, I'll be like, what would have happened if we didn't have any other woman? I mean, am I saving you guys here? You need to be aware that we need more women on this table. And everyone laughs it out, but I make sure that I say it loud. So that next time there's those CEOs, because here I'm talking to CEOs, and they know if I come to the offices and there are no women on the table, they'll be like, we are sorry, we are working on this and that. So I've done this with all 13 agencies, big parastatals. They have like thousands of workers. They make sure they have women on the table when I'm there, because I'll talk about it. I'll tell them, you guys, whatever we're doing, even if we're getting electricity in people's homes, if no woman is helping do it, we're missing out. It's more really being vocal about it, and not accepting that the status quo is the way to go, because they always have a reason. They explain. There's an explanation for why we have less women on the table. And the only way to get it done is to say, no, we gotta change it.
I love that. I love that. It's giving me chills listening to you, Patrice, because that's what we need. That's what we need from all of you when you go into meetings and decision-making roles, that you get to use your power to make sure that women are well represented. Okay, I want to ask you also, I know you talked to us about how you also work hard to inspire other women to promote themselves and also promote other women. Can you share a little bit about that?
Again, for me, it's more being real, right? Like doing something every day about it. And one thing that I've done, and I think it's a way to pay it forward, is to mentor other young women. There are many that come to me. You know, I speak at a conference, and then like 10 young women come to me and say, how can I do this? You know, can I come and talk to you? So I've done a lot of that. I make sure that I stay behind to talk to those young women, to tell them, look, I was just like you 5 years ago. I was trying to speak to other women to figure it out. And then also having mentees. I have mentees. For example, there's one that I mentor every month who comes to my office, sees me. I show her around, because she told me that she wanted to be a politician in the future. I told her, come see what a politician looks like, you know, a day in the life of a politician, because I've become one now. I show her that it's for me, it's really, it's like I said, when you're in it, you don't know how maybe attractive it looks, but for me, it's normal to be there. You know, I deserve to be there. You can be there too. So showing them, giving them a chance to see me do what I do is something that I do very often. Then I guess also when you're an influential leader, even my daughters now get to see me, right? Every day. So the other day, my firstborn had a talent show, and they asked them to pick what they wanted to become when they become adults. And she says she wanted to be a minister. So now she knows what a minister does. So she said that she'll be a minister. And then I think that's how you inspire them even young, right? Because they get to see that it's normal work. It's not that daunting as some male make it look, you know, because back in the day you'd see a male minister and be like, oh my God, ministers are so scary, this and that. But now they see me and they know you can have a life and be a minister and have a life at the same time. That's what I do to inspire them.
That's awesome. Okay. Kristen, so one of the things I also want you all to kind of understand is the role that the mentors play and can play in helping you become a leader. So Kristen, can you share a little bit about your relationship and how you supported her on her path to leadership?
Sure. I mean, how did I support Patrice? I think that it's more of what she's saying, just doing it every day, being there. You know, there were many things that we had to figure out. We both had to figure them out. You know, what schools are good, how to get a scholarship. You know, we kind of did that together. And then when Patrice was here, it was really, you know, opening up my house to her, being there when things came up, like I'm doing an interview, you know, how do I prepare? Or I'm giving the commencement speech at graduation. Can you listen to it and give me feedbacks? And I love one thing Patrice said to me. She's like, I learned how to be a planner from you because I'm so much a planner, and I think I got that from my mom. But you know, it was just like the mentoring by including her in my life, having her see how I live my life, having her meet my friends, having her meet, traveling together, going to travel with her. I mean, visit her. I went to Patrice's wedding. I have met her oldest daughter 3 times. So we just became very close. And I think that that is really what part of mentoring is for me, is just to get to know somebody well enough that then they feel comfortable reaching out for the input and relying on somebody who may have different experiences.
Yeah, I think that's the key. Once you're really connected to your mentor, then when you have a challenge, you're like, oh, I need to talk to her. Tell them about the time that Patrice called you before her internship interview and you helped her.
Yeah, I mean, I've told this story before, but I recall it so vividly because I was driving down the road on 19th Avenue in San Francisco, and I get a call from Patrice, and she tells me that she has this interview for an internship the next day at the Department of, you say what it was, Patrice?
The San Francisco County Transportation Authority.
Oh, yeah, the San Francisco Transportation Authority, and which is a, you know, a major, yeah, very important in the lives of people in San Francisco. And in my head, I thought, oh my gosh, this is the first interview that she's had in the United States. She doesn't even really know how to go in and greet people. So I immediately pulled my car over to the side so I could focus on giving her some advice and feedback, even to the point of, you know, here's what would be appropriate to wear, and here's how you go in and shake hands and greet people, and make sure that you're kind of acknowledging everyone, because I think it was a panel interview with like 4 or 5 people, right? And so, you know, I was just giving, and just like, you know, be confident and talk about your stuff and yourself, and be confident in saying things that you've done already. And so, yeah, just, you know, striking me that I'd had those experiences, and they may come second nature, kind of like being part of cabinet now becomes second nature, but somebody who's doing it for the first time has a much different experience.
Mhm.
Perfect. Patrice, how would you say Kristen helped you foster your journey to your position and just being a successful businesswoman?
I mean, it's what you just said, right? Being there, being present, because that's all we need from each other as women, really. Knowing that you have someone else who is rooting for you, who wants to see you succeed is very empowering. It empowers you. Personally, it has empowered me to think that nothing is impossible. We've talked about so many things together. Even when I first moved here, there was a reverse cultural shock where, you know, I was working in this male-dominated sector where I needed to figure out things, to stay confident, and then again, it's different, right? In Rwanda, the working culture is different from what you have in the US, but there's a lot of similarities. So just the fact that I knew that Christine could, you know, was a call away or a text message away to just listen to me, and I know for a fact that she wants me to succeed, has helped me a lot to this day, even while I'm in cabinet. It's, you know, it's those calls, monthly calls that we haven't had in a while now, but those monthly calls are very nice to talk about things, what has been going on. Sometimes it's very overwhelming. You know, we sit in a call, I just tell them how her and Stephanie, when Steph joins us, you know, I talk about how overwhelmed I feel. It can feel overwhelming. It's not like, you know, a cup of tea. Some days are easier, others are very difficult. So to hop on a call and just talk about how it's going is very, very helpful.
Awesome. Awesome. Do you want to add anything?
Okay, I don't think so.
Okay, so I just want to share a little list, and maybe Madison, will you write these on here when I say them? I meant to do that, but technology subverted me. This is the list that I came up with of ways. Oh, there's a pen right here, Maddie. It's on the clip to the board. Right there. Okay. Of ways that women can promote other women as leaders. And I just wanted to go over them, maybe ask questions, but I just wanted to share them. As Patrice said, there's mentorship. You can advocate for women to be involved and represented in your organization, just as Patrice said, in meetings or committees or on boards, make sure that there's representation. Here's an example. When we picked a new bank, I asked the bank how many women were on the board. And if they didn't have several women on the board, we didn't go with that bank. And so you can you use the power that you have as a consumer or as a professional to make sure that women are represented. And then also, when you see women who are subjugated, women are put down or not treated fairly, you stand up for them. So stand up for women when they're subjugated. Prioritize hiring women. When all things are equal, you gotta hire the woman. You just say, we're going with the woman. You use your power to put your hand down and say, it's all about the women. And then you can also build networking opportunities for women. So easy. We do networking events all the time. Women love to come and meet each other. So if you just, when you get home, you just say, I'm gonna have a networking event and get a space and invite women, you're gonna have a nice little group that you can invite over and over. And then, just by being yourself and being a leader, you're inspiring many other women. So inspire women by being a leader yourself. Patrice or anybody have another thing to add to that list? Anyone in the audience?
I have one thing that I would add is, as I thought about it and as I thought about She Can, really cultivate your relationships with women as friends. And it can start as friends, but you have to keep up that relationship and you have to do the work to really get to know people better and stay in touch over time. And I mean, She Can wouldn't be here without all of your friends. And then I brought my friends in, my mentor teams wouldn't exist without all my friends. So it's a matter of just continuing to stay in touch with female friends and then bring them with you when, you need them or whatever along the way.
Here's an interesting story. Oh, Melanie, great.
That's a great one. Around potential. I once was with two very successful businessmen.
Wait, Tracy, can you hear Melanie?
We'll
Melanie,
repeat
do you
it.
mind?
Oh, yeah, or come up.
Okay, come up, Melanie. You all, this is Melanie Dolbecca. She's gonna speak later today, and she's on our board, and she's also a mentor.
Hi, Patrice. It's so good to see you. So one other one, I saw these two businessmen present once, and they talked about how they always talked up each other. When they had the opportunity, they said good things about each other to other people. And it ended up building their credibility among a broader community. And it struck me how we need to do that for each other. We need to find the good things to represent about each other and talk each other up in every possible opportunity.
Absolutely.
I love that.
Yes.
Mhm.
Thank you, Melanie. Anybody else? Come up and give us another one. Something you do, something in school to help other women. Nope. Anybody got an idea? I think this is a really good list.
I'll tell you one that Patrice did.
Okay.
Because we should say it. Patrice just had a baby, not even a month ago.
And
1 month, and she had a girl.
Mm.
Girl.
Well,
So
Yay.
she's building women's leadership by having.
Yay.
Yes, we need to bring more women on this world, on the earth.
So I hope you all maybe will write all these down and then revisit them even at school and when you're a leader, because they're really, really important. Okay, I would love to have some amazing questions from you guys for Patrice. You have to come up and ask it. So who's going to be the leader that comes up and asks the first question? Oh, come on up, Supak.
Wait, not looking, I think.
There.
This is okay from Cambodia.
I go to Bucknell, and I'm a senior. I'm just wondering, I think I've been in a lot of situations where men are being misogynistic, and I think I've gotten more
I
comfortable.
can't see her.
Yeah, I know,
I
I'm trying to get it so you can. Okay.
Yes, much better, yeah. Hi.
I was saying that I think when you talked about calling out, speaking up for the lack of women representation, I was wondering how do you make sure that they understand what you meant and like get your point across? And I feel like a lot of the time when I call out men for being misogynistic, for not respecting women's or for not lifting women's up, they tend to just use an excuse of like, oh, you're a woman, of course you're a feminist, and not taking it as seriously as they should. And I feel like I think as a woman speaking about women's rights, sometimes they don't take it as serious when like there's another guy standing up for you instead of you standing up for yourself. So I was wondering, what was that experience like for you, and how do you make sure that they get it? You know, they know you mean business and they have to get something done.
Great question.
Should I answer it, or we take many and then?
Yeah, we want you to answer. Yes.
You're right. So I think for me, it's more kind of keeping at it, saying it multiple times, and then taking every opportunity to show that there's a cost to not including women. So for example, there's a project we had where we were trying to build a hospital, and the hospital is now built up. But one thing that we realized, because they had not included women on the team, they kind of didn't do a proper design. One of the things they missed out was including, for example, bathrooms in the delivery rooms. You know, it just skips their mind because they think it's fine to have bathrooms on the edge or, you know, the end of the hallway, as it's always done in other buildings, when women who've done, you know, who've lived through this experience know that you have to have it there because, you know, it's necessary. It's part of the design. So because in Rwanda, we are still kind of building up some of these infrastructure, there's not that much experience. Even architects kind of overlook some of these ideas. And I use such moments to tell them, this is the reason I keep insisting that we need women on the team. Because the reason we didn't include the bathrooms there, because everyone thought it was fine when they were looking at the design, until I came and showed them, look, we forgot to include this here. And now the cost is going to be, we're going to have to increase budget to be able to deliver a proper hospital, you know, a proper maternity hospital. So I think really, honestly, I keep mentioning these examples to everyone, that if we don't include women for the sake of including them, we include them because there's a cost to not having women be there. This is half the population worldwide. It's important that this population is represented so that their experiences are captured in everything that we do. Yeah, I can see why sometimes it's very difficult to be taken seriously. They sometimes make it a joke. Like everyone by now knows that when I come into a room, they'll be like, oh, we have women. Look, we have two here. And then they kind of say it joking. I'm like, whatever, I know, I'll keep mentioning it because it's important. If we don't do it that way, it's going to be very costly.
So great. Oh, good. Tali, come on up.
Go this way. Stand in front of this chair.
This is Charlie.
Hi, Patrice.
Yeah.
Nice to
Hey,
meet you.
Charlie. Nice to see you.
So I'm a senior from Liberia, and I kind of have two questions. The first one is, of course, Rwanda is a great country in Africa and everybody looks up to it because of the many examples the country is setting. But if there's one specific thing that you think could be done better in Rwanda right now, what would that be? And the second part, when you return to your country after graduation, what was it like for you? What challenges did you face, if any, and how did you navigate everything that you experienced at that time?
So one thing in Rwanda that could be improved, very good question. I don't know if it's in government or in just Rwandan society, but just the other day we were talking about how we need to have more women gatherings. So we've gone to, the things are moved very fast here. If you come this year, you come next year, there's always something that has changed. A lot of it infrastructure-wise, a lot of it is programs. There's a lot of things happening in Kigali and in Rwanda in general. But one thing that I know for a fact is that women need to support women. Women need to support each other. And I don't think we have enough of that yet. We've talked about this with even Barb on how we can, kind of get scholars, graduates together and all. But I think there's a lot of work that needs to be done on that front. Someone who is passionate about it to get us all together, just to hang out, but also to talk about our challenges, share experiences and all. Because I've seen it work. For example, we've gone to the Parlier House with you. There's this community of Shikan. It's really helpful. And you only know how helpful it is when you're a part of it. So the fact that I don't see much of that here, is one reason I would say maybe that needs to change. I don't know if it's me or someone else who will do that. I've always had, some challenges to implement it now that I'm a young mother and I have very little time, but I think ultimately it's going to have to be done by someone. I remember we used to have Rosie's daughters. They started something like that in San Francisco. I talked to them a bit about starting such a chapter in Kigali. It never materialized, but I think ultimately it's one thing that I know for a fact we need in Rwanda. Then challenges when I returned, there were many. Like I said, I had a reverse cultural shock. Everything, from like services, I used to go to, for example, a bank and be so mad about how poor the service was, how people take so much time to do things. At work, there was also actually one literally instance where I had to call someone off because I guess it's the culture, but it was normal for example, a male colleague to come and if they wanted to talk to me and hold me here to tell me something, and I'll be like, no, please don't touch me. Like, you don't touch me. And this used to be very, awkward situations, right? A colleague talking to you is normal, maybe touching you here and there, but I was not comfortable accepting that. And looking back today, actually, I think it was the right thing for me to do because I ended up heading the team and now I'm leading it. So if I had not set the right kind of record, or if I had accepted what was there, then maybe it was going to be very difficult to even lead the team. So yes, there was a lot of challenges. Sometimes they'll be like, oh, this girl just came from America. She's too Americanized, kind of putting me aside, whatever that was. But I was comfortable accepting to be labeled whatever it was, as long as it meant that I was respected and things were going, the right way.
Wow, that was a great answer. Thank you. Okay, come on up, Rhoda.
Hi, I'm Rhoda from Liberia, so I want to know that in terms of emotion, what is one thing that a woman leader should have?
Can you repeat a bit, sorry?
Yes, in terms of emotion, what do you think a woman leader should have?
In terms
In terms of like emotions, what emotions should women leaders like bring to your job or have and expose? Like, how women aren't supposed to be emotional, but they are. So
yeah, and I think it's important to bring that aspect as well, right?
yeah.
I think it's, for me, what's really important is to have women there and then women being themselves. You don't have to kind of fit in a box for what a woman leader looks like, because we are all different people. We are expected to be more detail oriented and then kind of have the endurance to carry out, difficult tasks and all that. But I honestly think for me, it's more being you and being comfortable, in your skin, that if you bring out who you are fully, it's going to be fine. No one is going to say you're too bossy because like for me, people have said I'm bossy, because I'll come in the room, if things are not delivered, make a point that this, this has to be delivered today. So for example, when I used to be permanent secretary, I was in charge of many teams and there were very many moving things happening. And then some days people would decide, for example, to postpone something to Monday when it could be done on Friday. And I would come and say, you guys, it has to be done on Friday. There's no going to Monday, because then we're losing 2 days. And then I know many people say that I was bossy because of that. And maybe the emotion in that was what? That I was, sometimes I would be angry. So one day I was very angry with this person who had gone home before a very important report was issued. And then I had to call them because I was very angry. I said, you have to come back. It's 6 p.m. I'm sorry, but I just realized you didn't send it as we had agreed. So you can be angry, you can be happy, you can dance if you're ecstatic. I do that a lot with my team. Like, for example, today they went out to a picnic outside of Kigali. And it's an event that the whole team went to, but I couldn't go because I'm on leave, on maternity leave. But because they know that when I'm there, there's always, you know, like I let go a bit and have fun with them. They called me in. So they kind of put me on loudspeaker. They wanted to hear me. And so it's really being everything that you are, and not being afraid that it's going to make you look, you know, odd as a leader. It's fine. It's fine to be emotional.
I agree completely. I think that's our superpower, is that we're going to let our emotions just go and be ourselves. And that's when we're the most powerful. Thank you. Rhoda, that was a great question. Anybody else have a question? We have about 5 more minutes. Yeah, Shreya.
I'm gonna stay here. Hi, Patrice. Yeah, hi, Patrice. I am Sreen. I'm a Shikan Stala from Cambodia. I'm a freshman in University of Portland. So I have a question for you. I wrote it down. So during and after graduation, what have you been doing to build your self-credits to get you into a position you're in today, which is in the government sector? Because in Cambodia, to like get a position in like a big position in government sector, it is not that easy. Like we need to have like family inside that government field. So I was wondering, like, how do you do it?
Great questions, Shreya.
Yeah, those are very good questions. What did I do during and just before graduation? So one thing that I did for sure was to keep up with what was going on in Rwanda. Even though I was in the US, I used to check out the news for what was going on in the country. I used to stay active, following up on what was going on even in the US. So I stayed in touch with the ambassador, the Rwandan ambassador in the US. And one thing that I remember that I did personally was, because I am passionate about certain issues, and one of them is to ensure that truth is told about my country. So there was this event that was going to happen at the International House, which is where I was staying when I was going to UC Berkeley. And in the event, they kind of labeled Rwanda as a failed state. They said how to fix. So this guy had, I think you remember, Christine, there was this book that came out with the guy who said he wanted to kind of postulate how to fix a broken state or a failed state. And they had organized the talk for the author to come and present the book. And I decided I wasn't going to let it pass just like that. So I wrote a very long email to the management of iHouse, the International House, and told them Rwanda is not a failed state. It's very easy to label it that way from many miles. You know, we are in California, so it's easy to label it that way, but it's a sovereign state. It can't be a failed state if this and this. And so I kind of gave them a lot of facts on what was going on in Rwanda at the time, which resulted in the talk being cancelled. So that event kind of, it came to the attention of Rwanda's leadership, because even the president at the time, knew this happened. And I think then that's what, here in Rwanda, it's really, it's more about merit than it is about family and nepotism, getting you into positions. So I think at the time when I wrote that email, for me, it was really just calling out what I thought was wrong. But for the government in Rwanda, they realized, oh, there was this young woman somewhere who decides to stand up for the country, even though she's not in a position of power or leadership. And then what else? Then when the president came to UC Berkeley, it was easy for him to remember me because of that event. And then I got a chance to talk to him a bit about what I was doing at UC Berkeley and all. And like they say, the rest is history, because then they offered me a job when I returned, and I had to do well in the job for promotions to come, you know. I think really, honestly, it's just believing in Rwanda and then standing up for it. And I think it becomes a powerful thing anywhere in the world. Even in Cambodia, where maybe it's nepotism and all that gets people into those positions, like she said, in some positions, they have no choice but to get the right person. And if you're the right person, they get you in that position, you know? That's all I could say about it.
That's awesome. Great answer. So I think we're pretty much at the end. Did you have any, it's going on a couple minutes before 10. Oh, there's some questions that, Tracy, can you stick for a couple more there? Do you each have a question? Do you each have one? Come on up, Elvira. This is our Guatemala contingent.
Maybe 5 more minutes, because I have to go back to the baby.
Okay, we'll be fast. Okay.
Hi, my name is Elvira and I'm from Guatemala. I don't know how the situation in Cambodia is, but in Guatemala, being being an activist or being an agent of change is too dangerous. And I was thinking, I'm from a rural area, I'm indigenous, so that makes the situation a little bit worse. So when we are like protesting for land and we are like doing something to protect indigenous people rights, those in the government who are corrupt and obviously doesn't want people to be better are like, they created some cases for us to go to jail. And so how do you think we can manage with that feelings? Because we are human, obviously we can have like fear of being killed or being put in jail. Yeah, that's my question. Thank you.
Big question that the whole country is struggling with. Oh my gosh, do you have any thoughts, Patrice?
Right. No, I know for a fact that change is very scary for many people. I don't think it's only in Guatemala, even here. On certain issues, you really have to be very creative on how you approach them. And the reason is sometimes it's not just because people are afraid of activists or agents of change. It's just because they're afraid of what happens to them if that change happens. And like she kind of hinted at people in government being corrupt. And I think that's the thing that we as young people need to first change, right? Because sometimes we think people in government are corrupt or they don't do what they're supposed to do because we are not in government. Until you get in government to make, change, then you have to be creative and careful how you approach what you want to get changed. I don't know if this is clear, but for example, I had so many ideas or so many things I disagreed with about what's going on in Rwanda. There are still many things I don't agree with, but I don't necessarily, I kind of choose my battles. You choose your battles and then say, if I need to change this, maybe I need to change this and this and this first before I am able to change things at scale. And instead of indeed risking your own life, you'd rather be that creative. So really, for me, it's more about having a critical mass of people who understand what change needs to be made. And you can't build that critical mass if you're not in a position of power like I am today. So it goes step by step. Instead of starting from like the likes of Malala, you want to be the most famous girl in the country who's changing things, you have to accept that you can change little by little. Begin by changing yourself, understanding how things work, and then understanding that things don't happen overnight, giving it time, little by little, changing things within your circle of control until you're in a position where you can begin to dictate, for example, what I told you, right? Like women need to be there. You won't go to this survey if you don't, like, those are not things you can do if you're just getting started. Because I remember 8 years ago when I started at the ministry, I would look at it and be like, okay, never mind. It's all men, doing this. But now I'm able to make that change happen. So I think it's really understanding that things have got steps to them, and then accepting to be diligent enough to go through those steps.
So awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, I think we're gonna close out. We have our break, and Patrice has her children. So
Yeah.
any closing words, Patrice, before we move on? We're so thankful that you did this today.
We should have everybody run up and.
Yeah, you want to say, why don't you come up and say thank you?
Yeah,
Come up and
thanks so much,
say
Patrice.
thank
Great
you.
to see you.
Yeah.
Of course. Thank you. For me, it's just to thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, Madison's gonna turn around. Yeah.
Thank you, Patrice.
Thank you, everyone. Good luck with everything. Take care.
It was awesome, Patrice. Thank you.
Thank you,
Have a good
Patrice.
evening.
Bye.
Bye.